The African sun beats down, casting a golden hue over the endless sea of green. Sarah, a lone wildlife photographer, steps deeper into the jungle, her camera ready to capture the untamed beauty of the wild. The air is thick with the scent of earth, and the sounds of the jungle play a delicate melody around her, birds chirping from high above, the soft rustling of leaves underfoot, and the distant growl of a predator echoing through the vastness. It's a scene that feels peaceful, serene, and untouched by time. Yet, beneath the tranquil symphony, there's an unspoken tension, a subtle feeling that something is watching, waiting. Sarah is unaware of the dangers lurking just beyond the shadows. As she follows a winding path deeper into the heart of the wilderness, her curiosity driving her forward. The camera swings lightly from her neck, capturing the beauty of this world, unaware of the storm that's quietly beginning to brew. As Sarah walked carefully through the jungle, she suddenly noticed a movement high up in the trees. She looked up and saw a small group of baboons sitting on thick branches. They were watching her very closely. Their dark eyes followed her every step, as if they were trying to understand what she was doing. Sarah had seen baboons before and always found them interesting. People said they were clever animals with strong family bonds. She smiled quietly to herself and slowly reached for her camera. This could be the perfect moment to get a great picture. She crouched down, trying to make as little noise as possible. The jungle around her was still, almost too quiet. A soft breeze moved the leaves, but everything else felt frozen in time. Sarah focused her lens, trying to get a clear shot of baboons. One of them looked right at her, unblinking. She held her breath. Then it happened, without any warning. The baboon that had been staring at her jumped down from the tree with incredible speed. It ran straight at her. Sarah didn't even have time to stand up. Before she could think or move, the baboon leapt through the air and landed on her. It grabbed her shoulders with both arms and pushed her hard onto the jungle floor. The ground was damp and rough beneath her, but she could barely feel it. Everything happened so fast. The baboon was strong, much stronger than she expected. Its heavy body pressed against her back, and she could feel its sharp claws digging into her skin. Its fur was thick and rough, rubbing against her neck and arms. Its hot breath at the back of her head, and it growled loudly, a deep sound full of anger. Sarah's heart started beating wildly. Her camera slipped from her hands and landed somewhere in the grass, forgotten. She tried to move, to twist and break free, but the baboon held her tightly. Her arms felt weak. Fear rushed through her body like a wave. She couldn't think clearly. The jungle that had looked so peaceful just moments ago now felt like a trap. The beauty was gone. All she could feel was danger. She wasn't a photographer anymore. She wasn't in control. She was just a person lying helpless on the ground, completely at the mercy of the wild. Inside her head, her thoughts raced. What do I do? Is this really happening? Will I survive this? She thought of the stories she had heard before, warnings about wild animals, tales of attacks, but she had never imagined this would happen to her. She had come to the jungle to take pictures, to explore and admire nature. But now, she was in real danger. And for a terrifying moment, Sarah truly believed she might not make it out alive. Just as Sarah's strength began to fade, and the suffocating weight of the baboon's grip seemed impossible to escape, a sudden, sharp sound broke through the chaos. A loud shout echoed from somewhere in the distance, followed by the crashing of branches as movement swept through the thick underbrush. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Was it another animal? No, this was something else. Something human. Her vision blurred with fear and desperation, but the sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. Then, a bright burst of light lit up the jungle around her, flames shooting from a flare. The baboon, startled by the sudden flash, hesitated for a moment, its grip loosening slightly. That hesitation was enough. The Rangers, a team of well-trained experts who had been patrolling the area, finally broke through the dense undergrowth. They pushed past the thick brush, moving with purpose and speed. Their commanding shouts filled the air, their voices cutting through the tension like a knife. Sarah's pulse raced, but she dared not look away from the baboon, which seemed to be momentarily distracted by the flare's blinding light. The leader of the group, a ranger named Daniel, swiftly moved toward Sarah. He was calm and focused, his movements precise. The other rangers followed, circling around the baboon, making sure it had no chance to attack again. Daniel raised another flare, the light blazing into the jungle, filling the shadows with bright, harsh glow. The baboon, confused and rattled by the sudden change, hesitated before finally retreating into the trees, its primal instincts warning it to flee. Sarah, gasping for breath, could barely process what had just happened. The weight on her back was gone, and the jungle, which had felt so threatening, suddenly seemed quieter, safer. "Are you all right?" Daniel asked, his voice steady, though his eyes scanned her for any signs of injury. Sarah could barely respond. The adrenaline still surged through her, her body trembling from the shock. I think so," she whispered, her voice shaky. That was too close. The rangers moved in quickly, checking Sarah for injuries and making sure she was all right. They helped her to her feet, and she found herself surrounded by the calm, professional presence of these strangers who had just saved her life. They had appeared out of nowhere, yet their timing had been perfect, their teamwork flawless. For the first time in what felt like forever, Sarah felt her heartbeat slow. She was safe. The immediate danger had passed, but the memory of the baboon's violent attack lingered in the air. The sudden arrival of the rangers had been nothing short of a miracle, and their swift response had turned the situation around in an instant. The tension that had built up in Sarah's chest slowly began to release, though the aftershock still clung to her. She knew that without them, she might not have made it out of the jungle alive. The jungle had proven to be both beautiful and deadly, and for a brief moment, she had been at the mercy of its raw power. But now, thanks to these unexpected heroes, she was still standing, grateful, shaken, but alive. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. The baboon, still clinging tightly to Sarah, let out a low, guttural growl, its eyes darting between her and a loud, flashing light now filling the air. Ranger Daniel didn't hesitate. He struck another flare and threw it just past the baboon. The sudden burst of fire and crackling sound tore through the silence like a thunderclap. Startled and confused, the baboon jerked back, its grip loosening for the first time. Sarah felt the pressure on her body lift slightly. Her instincts kicked in. With what little strength she had left, she twisted to the side and crawled free, dragging herself across the jungle floor, away from the immediate danger. Leaves and soil clung to her skin, but she barely noticed. Her breath came in sharp, panicked gasps. Behind her, the baboon gave one last frustrated snarl. But the bright light, the sudden human presence, and the chaos had broken its focus. It turned and leapt back into the trees, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as it had come. Sarah collapsed onto her side, shaking, staring into the thick jungle canopy above. The terrifying weight of the moment slowly started to melt into the background as she realized it was over. The rangers rushed to her side, voices now gentler, but filled with urgency. "You're okay now." "It's gone," Daniel assured her, crouching beside her and gently checking her arm for injuries. Sarah didn't speak right away. Her body trembled. Her hands clutched at the damp earth beneath her. The noise, the terror, the fear, it all still echoed inside her. She had survived. But the jungle had left its mark, not just on her clothes or skin, but deep inside her. The attack had ended. The danger had passed, but her wide, disbelieving eyes said everything. She was safe, but she would never forget what had just happened. Sarah remained motionless on the jungle floor for a few moments, the sound of her ragged breath the only thing she could hear. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, as if her body couldn't catch up to what had just happened. Her legs felt weak beneath her, her entire body trembling, as though it had been drained of all energy. She was in shock, unable to speak. Her mouth felt dry, and every thought in her head was tangled, unable to form a coherent sentence. The rangers, their faces full of concern, gently helped her to her feet. One of them offered her a water bottle, but she couldn't take it. Instead, she looked at them, her gaze distant, unfocused. They said nothing at first. Words seemed unnecessary. They only stood by, their presence a silent comfort. Her body moved, but it was like she was on autopilot, going through the motions without truly being aware of it. As the rangers guided her back toward camp, the jungle felt even more oppressive, its sounds now muted, almost eerie. The danger had passed, but the tension still hung in the air, like a storm cloud that had yet to disperse. At camp, the quiet was overwhelming. The soft glow of lantern light flickered around them, casting long shadows on the canvas walls of her tent. She didn't want to speak, didn't feel ready to face the reality of what had just happened. Her body was there, but her mind was still back in the jungle, still locked in that moment of terror. She could feel the lingering fear crawling beneath her skin, the adrenaline still pumping through her veins. Later, as Sarah lay in her tent, she stared at the ceiling, the faint sound of crickets filling the silence. Her hands, still trembling, rested on her chest, but she couldn't seem to calm them. The night stretched on, heavy and thick, as her mind replayed the events of the day over and over again. The baboon's terrifying strength, the feeling of being helpless, the flash of light that saved her, all of it spiraled through her thoughts, again and again, as if the memory was something she couldn't escape. She couldn't sleep. Her heart still raced in her chest, and each time her eyes closed, the memory of the baboons gripped the growl, and the terror returned to her, sharp and clear. She tried to force herself to relax, to breathe, but the weight of it all pressed down on her. This is the wild, she thought, so beautiful, yet so unforgiving. As Sarah sat in her tent later that night, she couldn't help but reflect on everything that had just happened. The jungle, once a place of beauty and awe, had shown its true, raw nature, untamed, unpredictable, and dangerous. She had come here, confident in her experience and knowledge, thinking that she understood the wild, but the attack had humbled her. Nature didn't follow human rules or expectations. It was ruled by instinct, survival, and the raw power of the creatures within it. She sat quietly, writing in her notebook, trying to process the overwhelming mix of emotions swirling inside her. Her hands were still a little shaky, but she scribbled down her thoughts, as if putting words to paper could help make sense of the chaos. "The wild does not care about my plans," she wrote. "It has its own rhythm, its own rules. I was just a part of that today, vulnerable like everything else here." She paused, staring at the words she had written, realizing just how true they were. It wasn't just about taking pictures, capturing moments. It was about understanding the deeper lesson the wild had just taught her, respect. The kind of respect that comes from knowing when you're not in control, when to step back, and when to let nature run its course. In that quiet moment, Sarah felt a deep sense of humility settle inside her. She had survived, but she had learned something much more important than any photograph could teach her. The wild was beautiful, yes, but it was also a force far beyond her understanding, one that required reverence and caution. She picked up a photo she had taken earlier in the day, when the baboons perched high in the trees, watching her. The picture was beautiful, capturing the essence of the jungle, but now it meant something different. It wasn't just a snapshot, it was a reminder that nature could be a friend or a foe, and it was crucial to never forget that delicate balance. Sarah smiled softly as she closed her notebook. The jungle had tested her, and though it had been terrifying, she knew that her respect for it had grown tenfold. Tomorrow, she would be back. But this time, she would be different. She would be more aware, more humble, and more prepared to face the wild on its own terms. The journey was far from over. As Sarah lay back, staring at the stars that pierced the clear night sky above, she couldn't shake the feeling that the wild was still with her. The encounter with the baboon had changed her, not just as a photographer, but as a person. She had learned the hard way that nature, in all its beauty, can be unforgiving, but that's what made it so powerful. It was raw, it was real, and it had a way of teaching you lessons you couldn't learn anywhere else. Tomorrow, she would wake up, pick up her camera, and head back into the jungle. But now, with every step, she would carry with her a deeper respect, a reminder of the delicate balance between wonder and danger. The wild had shown its teeth, but it had also shown her at heart. In the wild, you learn to respect its power, or it will remind you of it. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the real beauty and danger in nature, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me on this journey to capture the untamed world. As the lantern light flickered softly around her tent, Sarah felt a sense of peace, knowing that the next chapter of her adventure had only just begun.